you seeing?
Little Women. God, I love Meryl Streep.
Oh, okay. No Birds of Prey then.
Are you kidding me? I get all my scenes.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Well, at least you're not getting recast.
At least you're not dead.
Do you want to die again?
It's not like it matters anyway. They already have 2 more Joker pictures in the pipeline.
You're right. You might have it worse.
I definitely have it worse.
I mean, you guys want to talk about the bigger issue here? It's that Meryl Streep's a little overrated. So What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Tavern Talk by Initial Reaction. As always, I'm Philip, and a very special guest this week, the Little Rock Batman, is here.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?
Well, so happy you could be here, especially, we saw a late show.
Yeah.
It's late at night. I appreciate you taking time away from your crime fighting to be here.
It was worth it. I talked to the boss, and we got my schedule a little clear, so we're good.
I'm afraid to ask who the boss is.
Yeah, you don't want to know.
I don't want to know. But thank you for doing this, and
fun to be here.
I'm glad it was approved because we're talking about Birds of Prey this week, kind of the spin-off from the Suicide Squad featuring Harley Quinn in the lead role, obviously played by Margot Robbie. But we'll get into a little bit of the story and everything and explain what the movie's about. But, if you're into the DC universe or these comic book movies in general and are interested in the character, you're kind of already on board for this movie. But as with every week, we just came out of Birds of Prey. Initial reaction, what did you think?
Yeah, I was really impressed by it in a lot of different ways. If I were just to give it a sentence, I'd say it was just a crazy, fun, feminist movie. It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It had a really good sense of energy to it.
It really did.
Margot Robbie, like, Suicide Squad, whatever you thought of it, I think everyone could agree she was, like, one of the best aspects of it.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited to see her get a spin-off. I didn't know anything about the source material when they said Birds of Prey, though. I didn't know what that was in reference to or anything like that. Do you have, like, more of a reference point on that, or could explain the origin of the Birds of Prey, maybe?
Well, and that's something that, like, really hardcore Batman fans were super actually mad that this movie was coming out because it's Birds of Prey, which are like Batman characters essentially, but Harley Quinn was kind of taking the lead on that, which, I mean, you just got to see the movie, I think, before you make a harsh judgment call on that. But yeah, each of them kind of in their own way is Batman related. Sometimes Huntress is actually Batman's daughter, which is neat.
So that I was going to ask about that too, because Harley Quinn in the comics isn't necessarily part of the Birds of Prey.
No, she's not. Which I believe Margot Robbie was a big part of pushing this movie forward. It was like she came to the studio and pushed for it, and I feel like she's possibly going to continue with other movies like this, maybe Harley Quinn and The Blank, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you think about it, I mean, you could rework this movie and Harley Quinn's really not the main character necessarily. She's like who we're watching, but she's not necessarily the hero,
Yeah, because she's kind of because she's the one we're most associated with already.
Yeah.
But it really is more about how this group of women come together and meet one another and form this group. And then, I guess we could, slight spoilers here, she kind of gets them together or is part of that process or involved in that, unusual set of circumstances and then kind of books it. And it's just like, leaves them to do their thing and maybe leaves that open for an actual Birds of Prey movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. But isn't the little girl, Cassandra Cain, now does she grow up to be somebody?
I mean, so typically that's Batwoman.
Okay.
I
thought I'd read something like that, but then they never mentioned it in the movie, and so I was like, am I on the right train here?
Liberties and rearranged the characters in an interesting way, which in film, I think that's a really cool thing to do, because you can't lug around 70 years of continuity. When you come into a movie, you have to rework it.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, MCU does it all the time, I feel like,
exactly.
so.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's, okay, well, that makes sense. I knew I heard something about that, and I didn't know if there was going to be a hint of that in here. But we didn't really get it.
It open for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Back to the narrative style, I just thought of this. I would compare it to Mad Max, sort of, if you've all seen Mad Max. Especially this latest one, because Mad Max is like, he's the narrative point that we're watching, but really the main character is Furiosa,
right?
Who's like the driving hero. It's not a perfect,
No, but I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. And who would you say would be the Furiosa in this one? Do you think? That's where it kind of.
I know that's where it falls apart a little bit. But I think that the Furiosa, I guess, in a way, is just those birds of prey coming together and becoming that unit. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the big, strong moment there. And it was called the. What are the words exactly?
It's like the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, or something like that.
But it's not just Harley Quinn. It's as she's seeking out her emancipation. Each of these characters finds their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're all held down by some force.
Right, and we can get into those a little bit. One of them is a seasoned detective who is Rosie Perez, Officer Montoya. And then you have Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is the Huntress, and then Journey Smollett-Bell, who is Black Canary. And then we mentioned Cassandra Cain, Ella J. Basco. I haven't seen her in anything. I don't know. I really enjoyed her performance, actually. She was pretty fun.
I did too.
And then as the antagonist, we all see, and I was going to ask you about him, Black Mask as well. I wasn't familiar with that villain. Are you? I mean, is he big in the comic lore? Or
I don't know how spoilery we want to get with stuff at all.
We throw there. Spoiler warning.
Well, spoiler warning. The end of the movie, he dies. Which I know a lot of hardcore Batman fans aren't going to be happy about, because he's a major role in the Batman world. He's a big Kingpin type guy.
Okay. Yeah. See, I wasn't sure. My knowledge runs as deep in Batman lore as the '90s animated series.
Well, that's as deep as you need to go.
That's what she said.
Okay. That's and I need to rewatch it. I need to rewatch it because it's been a while. But that's kind of where all my history comes from with Batman. So Ewan McGregor plays him, and his Roman Sealness, maybe? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But,
everyone, if you're not familiar.
Is his performance as that character, is that based in anything in the comics? Because he was cracking me up.
He definitely took it his own direction, but he's always really erratic, and really I think he's just essentially bipolar in the comics and whatnot. But this, he took it to another level where it's total crazy. I loved it. I mean, that's one of the saddest things, again, with spoilers. I'm just sad he won't be around because he was so good.
No, I agree. I was kind of sad he had to bite it, because he was great. And what was cool was he has this henchman, Chris Messina plays his right-hand man, and they're both nuts, but they're very different kinds of crazy. And it was just fun to watch that kind of dynamic between the two. But I did the dynamic between how all the birds of prey kind of come together as well. And we can talk about, we were talking about kind of the narrative style of it. And this is very much I don't know, we saw The Gentleman a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I'm going to see it.
But it kind of reminded me of a Guy Ritchie style. It jumps around to these perspectives, only to bring them together so we can see the bigger picture.
Man,
and it was
so good.
and that's kind of and it flat out says it's going to do that. Harley Quinn narrates it and takes it into these different timelines almost, or perspectives, until we're caught up with the story as the audience. So it's fully aware there's an audience there, which allows for some really fun movie moments.
Yeah, I think part of what's really strong about the movie is that, however you felt about Suicide Squad, it did have just a great energy. You know? And this movie, due to Margot Robbie, really, she carries that same energy, but puts it into a far more complex style of storytelling, and then just a way more interesting production. There are a lot more practical effects rather than CGI. And a more grounded story. It feels silly even compared to Suicide Squad, but Yeah.
No, I was gonna comment on that as well because I noticed about halfway through, I was like, man, all this action feels really grounded.
Yeah, it just
and
feels
just really
It
like
has the
tactile.
awkward moments at times where people like the kick is a little weird, but it's like great because you know they really did it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's
A lot of leg breaks in this.
yeah.
too.
I know. What's with that?
That
a
was,
lot of leg.
and it started to like. There's one specific incident.
I think I know the one. I heard
and
you.
Yeah, it was like I just kept going, and I was like, this is killing me. But no, yeah, I did think the lack of, or at least the ability to see the CGI in a
Yeah.
lot of it was nice and refreshing.
Yeah.
Because as much as I like Zack Snyder's movies, like I would put Man of Steel at the top of the recent DC wave of films.
yeah.
Like I love that movie, but there is a reliance on CGI and a lot of
And
his,
it's-
especially in his
yeah.
third act stuff.
It's his scale of storytelling,
Yeah.
which is like, complete other world. Like you're in a comic book in his movies, you know what I
Right.
mean? Whereas with these movies, you're Batman, all these people are Batman characters essentially, so that character works better like on a street level. And the street level action works better if you can rely as much as you can on practical effects, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought, and I wanted to mention the director, Kathy Yan. She's only done one other film, or one other feature that I can see, Dead Pigs from 2018, which I haven't seen.
Yeah,
I feel like I
haven't seen
heard
it.
about it coming out of some festivals, like
Yeah.
maybe Sundance or something in that year, but I haven't seen it. But I'm interested because she had a real style here.
Yeah, it really was great, and it was just this celebration of these characters, and I don't know, the final like moment where they're all fighting together was just really something special.
Yeah, it was and kind of like we were talking about with, a lot of these movies will get to that third act, rely on the big CG battles and stuff, but this one maintained its grounded effect, and it felt very satisfying, which
Yeah.
it didn't just feel like, oh, we have to do this because it's the third act of the movie. It just felt very like a natural progression of
Yeah.
things. And I liked how she kind of mixed in Harley's narration into like the shots, the actual shots. Like
that
you
was
would hear the narration, and then the actual character would say the line and finish it. Or in flashback, a character would enter that. Early there's a scene where Rosie Perez's character is investigating a crime scene. The crime plays out, and she kind of enters it. I love stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
just inventive. It feels creative.
Yeah, it plays with your sense of what the narrative is. And
Yeah.
again, another cool thing about Suicide Squad was the little like character card pop-ups and stuff. And
Yeah.
they carried that over as well. That's
Yeah.
sort of interesting. There's kind of a diss to Jared Leto, I think, a little bit there. You never really even see him. You see a little
No,
bit of his
back, yeah.
over-the-shoulder shot there, but you never see him. Really.
I know. And I was going to ask you, like, how did you feel about the representation of Gotham here?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of carrying over from Suicide Squad's Gotham a little bit, where it's still kind of the funky, Gotham rather than the like ultra gothic Gotham you might expect from a Batman movie. But I think part of that too is, again, you're following a narrative of a character, so that's like that perception, that's like the vibe of that character. You know what I mean? So that's
Right.
like Harley Quinn's Gotham. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
It's madness and wild, whereas Batman's Gotham's going to be like rooftops and rainy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which that's my Gotham.
Yeah.
Personally.
And they didn't go into that too much. Like, we didn't see
Yeah.
a whole lot of it.
Exactly, and I think that was intentional as well because they are actively like world building this Gotham City. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And they, unless it's like the Batman film, they don't want to take too much of a chunk out of Gotham. Does that make sense?
Right. No, yeah, because with each movie, they're kind of defining that world. And we really don't know how Batman at this point is going to play into this world
Yeah,
as
we
far
really
as,
don't.
I mean, he's obviously a part of it.
Yeah.
But, with the casting change and everything, and we don't
Yeah.
know what the tone of Matt Reeves' movie is going to be, or anything like that. So we don't know what the future holds for these characters or for the franchise in general. But Birds of Prey at least gives me enough hope, and I'm intrigued at least to know where this is going because I liked what I saw.
This movie, it wasn't like an immature trying to push for R, but it's
No.
like this story demanded an R rating. You know what I mean?
Like the movie overall felt very representative of Harley's personality.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just, I like that because there's even a sequence, and it's in the trailer where she's kind of dressed as Marilyn Monroe and everything,
Yeah.
and it's like in her mind and
I
how
love
it
that,
works
yeah.
in any given instance. Like it's just a small moment that it does that, and it's like, oh, okay, that's what you're doing, but you're doing it on this scale of the whole movie.
That was one
So
of my favorite moments of the whole movie.
yeah.
A little bit.
I liked it a lot. As we talk about it more, I'm actually kind of like, oh yeah, I'm appreciating more of what the director did than I actually did while like first coming out of it. But
A critique I would have, which I don't even necessarily know if it's a critique, is just the first bit, due to the narrative style of the kind of jumping back and forth. It's difficult to know where the story's headed or know, who you're bonded to, I guess.
right.
But again, by the time that second and third act pull on in there, you're in for it. You're with it.
And that definitely could be because you're just getting accustomed to it.
Yeah, you're getting.
And then
and I think why it works possibly is that, love Suicide Squad or hate it, like everybody loves Margot Robbie. Maybe not everybody, but she just carries that so well. So in a
She's
way,
so good
yeah,
at
you
that
feel like you
character,
already
too.
know what's going on just because you're with her.
Right.
You know what I mean? In its own.
Well, and I just feel like I said, my big, pool of knowledge for Batman comes from the 90s series, which is where Harley Quinn originated.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I just feel like she embodies it so well. I can't imagine anyone else playing the role now, and I feel like that says
I know, yeah, it's like
a
she
lot
was-
about her performance in general.
Harley Quinn's an interesting character because she was written, as this one-off character, but she just flowed so well in the writing that they kept her on. So she started pretty, one-dimensional, but as things went on, she gets deeper and deeper, and you start to see the, aspects of like this abusive relationship, and she really is like this incredibly smart. She was a doctor. That's
I'm
something
glad
that's
they kept that intact.
yeah,
too,
that's something that's not always shown, and that's why I don't know. It's creating this strong female character, and that's what this whole thing is about, like her rising and accepting her strength. You know what I mean? And that's where the movie is like super fun and all that. It's representation for like a little girl, maybe not a little girl because it is rated R, but like my wife to go see that movie and relate to that in a way that maybe she wouldn't if she went to see Batman vs Superman. You know what I mean? Because
right.
she's being represented there. You know what I mean? And that final scene where they're all fighting together and it's like they've all been emancipated in their own way.
I was gonna say, that whole cast. In a way is,
it's such a strong thing, and intentionally, but not like over pushed. That entire moment was all women. It was a totally like female battle, and no one was, ridiculously sexualized. And I loved the little thing with the scrunchie. She like kept getting the hair in her face. And that's something that Marvel movies are always critiqued on, that the women always have their hair down. When it's like that would be impractical for a woman to fight that way. Get anybody, Jason Momoa, But I just love that moment where he's
in the water. It's good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I think it'll speak a lot to a lot of different people because of that.
Yeah, and I didn't want to shortchange Journey Smollett-Bell and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who I thought they don't have as big of arcs as like Margot Robbie or even Rosie Perez's characters, but they are definitely their own characters. They have they're very much defined in who they are, and I thought they played those really well.
Yeah, everybody really did. The casting was excellent.
Yeah. I think we both really liked it, but here on Tavern Talk, what we do is we usually do out of 5-star rating, an initial reaction rating. If you were to give Birds of Prey a out of 5-star rating, what would you give it?
This is always such a hard question because there's so many different types of movies,
Yeah, and I always kind of say like my star rating is based on like, did this movie accomplish what this movie intended to be, like what it set out to be, like how much did it accomplish that goal, and not necessarily you can't compare Birds of Prey to 1917 or
exactly.
Something like that.
No, totally.
But
I mean, judging by what it was attempting to accomplish and the creative ways in which they chose to go about that, I would give it a 5-star rating.
All right, full 5 out of 5-star endorsement from the Little Rock Batman here. I'm gonna go 3.5. Like, I liked it a lot. I did feel a little bit of the energy kind of waning in and out at certain parts, and I wanted a little more as far as, like we were talking about the characters. I thought the performances were really good, and maybe it's just because I liked them so much. I want to get to know them a little more, see them in more adventures and everything like that. But I think overall it's really good. I don't think it's necessarily like exceptional or great, but it's a lot of fun. And if you liked the Harley Quinn character in the Suicide Squad, I think you'll love this. I think you'll love the energy, the creativeness, the inventiveness that this movie contains. So regardless of rating, I think we would both highly recommend seeing it on the big screen if you get a chance.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you once again.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
No, thank you so much. And if you want to see Little Rock Batman in another initial reaction, go back and watch our Suicide Squad intro. It might have a little cameo there. But also follow you on Instagram. You always put up the coolest pictures, coolest videos. Anything else going on, coming up?
Just, day-to-day Batman stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to push a little more creative content. I've got a lot of creative people around me, so I'm trying to really utilize that a little bit more.
Sweet. Well, I always pay attention to your Instagram page, so I look forward to see what you're doing in the future.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming by and stopping and visiting our little show. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Movie Tavern for letting us see the movie here and then shoot in the theater after. We always appreciate them. If you have a Movie Tavern near you, definitely check it out. It's a really cool experience. But thank you again for watching. If you liked what you're seeing, definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell. You can get a notification every week when we upload a review of the biggest release. But other than that, we will see you next time. Peace. Good. What are you saying?
Little Women.
God, Dude, yeah. Are you just gonna keep rolling? Okay. What are you saying?
Little Women.
God, I love Meryl Streep. You can't say it. I'm gonna laugh every time.
There's no point in me saying it.
No, yeah, don't even.
It is great. I love hearing it though.